welcome to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review the show. A reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. I'm your host, William Liu. I'm joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. What's going on, Alex? You entrusted me to handle the rundown for one day, and I don't know. There's a lot of things in here. For the show I'm preparing.
This is like walking up to a buffet. Like, I don't even know where to start. You know, the items are spread out all over the place. Like, you know, do we get the sushi first? You know, get some wings.
I feel like the X-Men right now.
Fried rice.
Shouts to the X-Men for people who listen to the Banter
shouts
Pod.
to the X. Also, big snowstorm happening outside. So for anyone going outside, please dress accordingly.
Someone pointed out that every single time the Raptors have been on long road trips, the Toronto weather has dumped a huge pile of snow.
Oh, okay. So regardless of if they're here or not, the season has been miserable. Is that what you're saying?
Come on. No, I'm just thinking of the Raptors right now. They're probably chilling in L.A. I saw them doing.
Better not be chilling that hard.
Okay, all right, man.
All right, Nick Nurse.
No, I mean, I saw them at practice. You know, talking with reporters yesterday. A whole 14-minute scrum about officiating.
Right.
You know, nobody really took the bait this time. And no, I'm pretty sure that was Rico's gym. I'm pretty sure that was the UCLA gym that they worked out at. So, they're definitely in a better place. But for now, I'm looking outside. I can see, you know, just outside here. I believe that's Huntley Street. And it looks like a snow globe outside. So
yeah, it looks beautiful. Yeah, no, they're at practice. Lots of practices for the Raptors.
Oh yeah, season. There's a big difference between their approaches from previous years. Like, when remember the championship season? Like, literally, we would always get a text from Raptors PR, or at least a tweet, which I have on Text Alert, where it'll be like, you know, practice is called for tomorrow. You know, for 11:30, please arrive by 12. And then, like, 2 hours later, it'd always be like, no, just kidding, practice is canceled. Shoot around is canceled, which I didn't mind. Like, I actually kind of like that.
And it worked.
Now it's like, they're practicing any chance that they get, unless it's like off a back-to-back, which like I don't think
they're not allowed.
Yeah,
they're actually not allowed.
Other than that, they're practicing all the time. And look, listen, they need to, man. What else are you going to be doing?
I mean, there's 14 games left in the season. Like,
right.
Let's go. Let's build these positive habits.
It's never too late. It's never too late. Even with 1 month left in the season,
it might be too late. It might be too late. No, you mentioned practice. So it was an update on Fred VanVleet, which we talked about yesterday. So Fred was one of the players who spoke at practice, and a day later he did cool down a little bit. Here's what Fred had to say about his comments about Ben Taylor.
A lot of support, obviously. You know, I think speaking for a lot of guys, obviously I was frustrated, emotional, but there's a lot of people that feel that way. And, hopefully going forward we see some, change for the better for the game. You know what I'm saying? It's really just about the betterment of the game. And, it was a little emotional, like I said, a tough loss and things not going our way. So got caught up in the moment a little bit. But, you live and you learn, you move on. It came out authentic. It came out, in real time. I wouldn't have done that if I felt like I had another option or outlet. I felt like I've exhausted my options, this season, many different occasions. And, it was just one of those things. I'm human, and you'll see me make mistakes in real time and make things that, is not always perfect, a little unprofessional from my standard. So, it's unfortunate, but it happened. You got to live and learn.
So $30,000 fine.
Yeah.
From the NBA that was announced yesterday. Thoughts on the fine?
I'm not too surprised by the amount. I think it was interesting because there was so much reaction the night that it happened and the morning after of like, yo, Fred really went in on the ref and he named him and he swore, and it's like, maybe he'll get suspended. And I was like,
suspension seemed a bit.
No,
that would have been a little bit too much.
This is not how this thing goes. Like, first off, there's rules for all of this, and second of all, like, yo, there's a players' union, and like you can't just like suspend a guy just because he did this. No, I mean, I think in thinking back on it, like even when you described it as cool down, I don't think Fred was like heated necessarily. I think he was just sort of like, he came out and really just delivered like a pretty clear message, right? And look, we'll see how it moves on going forward. I was listening to the practice, and most of the questions were like, so you've put a target on your back now. Do you think this is going to change how you're officiated? I think they both Nick and Fred could have sidestepped that question. But look, I mean, It will be interesting to see how it goes, right? Because, could be a little vindictive.
You think it'll have a negative impact?
Well, I mean, I guess the argument is like if they already feel like they're getting the short end of the stick, then you're gonna get none of the stick. How does that analogy work? By the way, I don't even understand that.
No, but I guess on the flip side, it would be now that this has been such a publicized incident, maybe when it comes to Ben Taylor or some of these other refs, that they're not gonna want to get involved in something like this again, right? Because I mean, the main thing for Fred that was complaining about the stats that came out that we were talking about yesterday was that a lot of the technicals that he received this year was in the games that Ben Taylor officiated, and he was the one that was handing out the text. And I'm sure like when the NBA sat down and reviewed it, after having like a 6-hour meeting about the Ja Morant situation, they're like, oh,
yo, the NBA's been busy, man.
Adam Silver's like, yo, anything else?
Adam Silver's like, anything else before I leave to Disney?
Actually, do you know Ben Taylor? Are you familiar with Ben Taylor's game?
Nah,
because this has taken place.
Adam Silver's got one foot out the door already, man. This guy's ready to take over the Star Wars franchise.
So wild, man.
I wasn't really familiar with your game.
We weren't familiar with Adam Silver's game. This guy's like, that's cool, man.
This guy's gonna run Marvel, man.
No, Ja pulled out the stick and he was like, I'm leaving.
He's gonna be working with Simu Liu on Shang-Chi 3. Like, what a career swerve.
I'd rather boss Simu.
He's like, how do we introduce the X-Men in 2026 into the MCU?
Well, he's gonna put himself as Magneto first off.
Oh God. Happy Friday. But I don't feel like producer Derek Brandeo mentioned to us Professor X is a bald guy.
I don't watch comics.
Stick to anime.
I do watch anime though.
But I don't think there's gonna be like repercussions or negative impact.
No, I mean I
think people listen, they said their piece.
Okay.
The fine was made and
move on.
I feel like move on. I feel like the league probably reviewed it and said that like Fred wasn't really like he was speaking out of turn, but there was facts behind what he was complaining about.
Right.
You know what I mean? Versus just coming out and like accusing the refs of like rigging a game or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is a whole different thing.
No, I think I am looking forward to assessing sort of the Raptors' performance as well, because look, I think in the Denver game, obviously there was such a strong focus and it was in a very pivotal moment, right? Where Scott Foster made his call. And then in this past game, there was so much discussion about the officials, obviously because, Fred named the official, and called it out, and it was a unique situation.
He really said their names are.
He really said his name is. Yeah, you know what? Good for you, Fred. Also, shout out the name Ben Taylor. A lot of people name Ben Taylor. There's also the famous YouTuber Thinking Basketball is Ben Taylor. Oh,
that's right. No, but the thing is,
and there's also the artist Ben Taylor who plays guitar and sings and stuff.
You know who recommended Ben Taylor, the podcaster, to me? You wouldn't be surprised. Joe Olfon. Yeah.
Oh,
he's like, you should definitely check this out.
Yeah, he's like you know how for bloggers Zach Lowe is like the god.
Yeah.
He's for YouTubers.
Oh, is that right?
Ben Taylor is the god.
Then who are you the god to?
Yeah. Just Asians in Toronto who like basketball. I'm not even kidding, man. That's it.
His name's ringing out on Highway 7, man. They're gonna rename a street after you. I mean, Yo-Yo Ma.
Chairman Lou. Oh man, yeah.
Got fired today. Shout out to Brandeo.
Shout out to Brandeo.
No, Yo-Yo Ma has a lane downtown, so
he does.
Yeah. So
it's
it's
hold
near
on.
Queens Quay. Yeah.
So wait,
I'll take a photo for you next time. It's near our Tuesday ball run.
Oh, in the garden.
Yeah. Like in that area. Yeah, the music garden.
Yeah,
the music garden.
That's nice.
So maybe they can put you somewhere. Yeah.
No, that's wild. Imagine you're just driving around in Waze. It's just like, all right, take a left on Yo-Yo Ma.
It's like what? It's like,
anyway,
it's like turn left on Willow Boulevard.
No, we don't need that.
What are we talking about? Yeah.
We're talking about the fact that I think that so much focus has been on the officiating that like it's taken the onus off of sort of their play.
Right. Yes.
And I think that, I mean, for me in the Denver game, it was pretty clear to me. I mean, like, look, the Raptors didn't close out strong. I don't really expect the Raptors to close out strong because their history has been pretty poor in these fourth quarter leads. But to me, it's like we could have talked more about that. We could have talked more about just sort of like their focus over the balance of the game. It wasn't strong enough to beat Denver, which, by the way, Denver wasn't like playing at their best by any means, because the next game they played, they got rolled by the Bulls. Which,
at home.
Thank you, Denver, by the way, for making sure you beat the Raptors and then getting rolled by the team below the Raptors in the standings. Thank you. And then even the LA game, they came out and played well, but I thought that there was a lot of good tactical adjustments that sort of happened within the course of the game between, Ty Lue and Nick Nurse, who are two of the most creative coaches in the league, and that swung a lot of the game. But again, so much of the focus again was on officiating. I think the discussion of officiating is just like, we can't really control it. It's not like it's going to change within what the Raptors can do, it's not like as interesting of a topic as compared to actual hoop talk.
I agree with you. I love hoop talk, and I think if you look at
someone said Adam Silver's the one punch man. I'm telling you.
The one punch he gave was the Donald Sterling when he did the lifetime suspension. And he's been dormant since.
But that earned his whole reputation, though. Sometimes you'll just need one play, man.
Adam Silver's in his filler story arc right now, man.
No, it's like Kawhi hit the shot, and then he went to LA and did very little. But it's like, nah, he's still Kawhi, That's Adam Silver, man. Good for him.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, hoop talk. I think these two games, have a really good point in that even though coming out of the two games, the biggest topics was Scott Foster and Ben Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Those are not the reasons why the Raptors lost the game. Like, do you look at those two incidents and say that's why the Raptors lost the game? Like, those are not the reasons why they lost the game. They lost the games because of all the things that you talked about, right? The attention to detail.
Yeah.
The inability to kind of close in the fourth quarter. And I think it's a lot of those things you talk about, like adding Poeltl at the trade deadline. And clearly we've seen an upgrade on the court, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But we're still not seeing all the other things that's been hurting them throughout the whole season. And I know you watch the games, you rewatch the clips, you go through the specific plays. You see the way they, struggle on transition defense. You see the way that certain guys can't execute, offensive sets, pick and rolls and things like that, setting screens. But you know what I mean, though? Like, those are the fundamental things you need to win games, especially when you're playing against the Denvers and the Clippers, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's nice to get wins against, I don't know, what are the teams that they've beaten recently, right? Like, I don't know. It's nice to get a win in Detroit. It's not that hard. You can make a bunch of mistakes and probably still win, and they did.
They hung on for those wins over
But that's
Detroit
what I'm
too.
saying, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, that's where I think, when you're thinking about the Raptors moving forward, because I don't think that just the trade deadline this year was just about this year. I think it was also about, you bring in a guy like Poeltl with the intention to re-sign him. And, it's worth tracking sort of like how the team is doing since he's come here. And I think that him individually, he's done a lot of great things. And I think that that's really brought balance to the team. But I do think that it's put other players sort of out of place, and they have to then find their new roles, right? I think overall, by the way, I think it is definitely an upgrade. There's no way you watch these games and say like, oh, Yak is not playing well for the Raptors. Clearly he is, right? But there are adjustments to be made elsewhere, I think. I think for me, the biggest thing is just him playing at center has now took center minutes away from Precious and Scottie playing at center.
Right.
And both of those guys, I would argue, have had most of the success offensively, especially playing at the center position this year. Precious, when he was starting in the center spot before the trade deadline, even though the Raptors weren't doing well, he was playing much better. And right now, him coming off the bench, I've discussed this so much that I don't think that I really wanted like single him out as much. But at the same time, that's been the weakest spot in the rotation for me. And I think that he can play better on that front. And then I think that so Scottie's was playing at center was more of a compromise than anything else. But he did at least perform well offensively. There were a lot of those games where we talked about it for like 2 or 3 games. He was like, okay, guys were like really sagging off of him, but then he found ways to counter that. And it brought this sort of like switchability to the Raptors defense. And, I didn't think that was, again, like a long-term move. That was more of a short-term compromise. But I thought he actually did play quite well in that month. I think January was probably his best month of the season. And he did play in that spot for a lot of it. Bringing Yak in has sort of like led these guys to sort of find more roles and more space around them. I think even for Pascal, to some lesser degree, he's got to learn how to sort of play with that traditional center again. Clearly, he knows how to play with Yak, but of late, his performances have been a lot more quiet. In that Clipper game, I thought it was interesting that the Raptors, first off, shot really poorly overall from the mid-range, but they had such a high volume of mid-range shots because the Clippers did a great job of not just having a Vika Zubac who was at the back there, and he obviously is, the biggest man in the building most times, and he was clogging the lane, but also Mason Plumlee was clogging the lane, and the Clippers did such a great job of collapsing the paint and taking away the lane. And even though the Raptors shot like 42% from 3 and made 14 threes, and that's way more than they usually do, the Raptors still weren't able to generate nearly enough offense because they couldn't get into the paint as much because of the fact that so many of their shots had to be stopped short in the mid-range. And that's where Scottie and Pascal were both missing a lot of their opportunities, Gary as well. So you're seeing more mid-range attempts because the paint is more clogged. So I think there's just more things for the team to sort of figure out. And I think that ideally you would figure those things out right now, and you take the positives that Yak is undeniably giving you, and you also learn how to play the rest of the offense around it. But at the same time, like I think looking forward into the more long-term future, when you're going to decide on which of these players are long-term keepers or not, I really do want to see how the rest of the season plays out in terms of how that fit can be managed. Is that more of a coaching issue right now in terms of just like, we got to solve this? Or is it sort of like a structural inflexibility?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because you look at the way they've tried to build their team the last 2 years and, you know, the whole Vision 6-9 thing. Like, they have not played with a traditional center like Jakob, right? Like for 2 years. So you know, it's not a surprise to me that these are issues that they need to figure out on the fly. And obviously they've got like the 15 games to try to figure out. I think where Scottie fits in, you know, with this team moving forward in terms of what position you want to put him in, to me is still the most interesting question. And probably that was the most interesting question coming into this season, right? And I think, you know, there's probably, you know, a lot of us, including ourselves, you know, that was hoping in a perfect world in year 2, we're able to see just a growth in his skill set, especially on the offensive end, where you can see what the best positions are for him, right? Like, we talk so much about him, you know, potentially like he likes to see himself as a point guard, right? Like, have we seen enough, you know, from these 2 years so far to say that he's got the skill set to kind of take on a point guard role on this team with this roster? Yeah. And I'm not saying that we need to see it all now, but you know, but have we seen it?
I mean, I think he's clearly got vision. He clearly knows that he's got a lot of good passes in his locker, so to speak. That's what they say in footy. He's got that in the locker.
It's not the bag?
No. In soccer, it's what's in his locker, not what's in his bag.
Okay.
So he's got a lot of good passes in his locker. Yeah. I think that, you know, he's had a lot of.
That's so funny.
I don't know, man. A lot of terms in the UK is different, but you know, for him, like the Raptors are clearly giving him that opportunity. I thought at the start of the season, they really, really wanted to, like, their ideal setup coming into the season when they were planning for it was like, okay, so Pascal's the number 1, and then Scottie's kind of your number 2, and then everyone else can kind of play off of that, right? And of course, asking that was like, okay, Fred, you step aside and you play off ball. Of course, the plans got dashed like less than a month in. Let's be honest.
Well, it got dashed the minute I think Pascal got hurt, right? Like 5 games.
Well, Pascal was playing great at the start of the season.
Yeah.
He gets hurt, and now it's like, okay, so who's going to now step up into the number 1 option? Ideally, you take the number 2 and you put him to number 1.
Back to Fred.
But Fred then jumps to number 1.
Yeah.
Scottie doesn't really take over as a number 1 in that stretch. And then it was like, okay, whatever. It's not his fault. I think it's just like, that was the plan. So they had to sort of rejigger everything. Yeah. And then, you know, for a while they were starting Thad and Juancho, which I think is also just a very strange part of the season. But like for like 2 weeks, they just intentionally did this.
Yeah. Did they ever pick up a nickname? No, it didn't pick up enough steam. Yeah.
Come on, man.
It's been tough this year.
It's been tough. They were the most unselfish guys, let's just say.
Netflix and chill? No, yeah.
That's not good, man. Come on. Like, Netflix and Ice Tub, maybe.
Ice Tub Time Machine.
You know what? Not terrible.
Anyways, Juancho's gone, so it doesn't matter.
Then Gary was coming off the bench, and then Gary started, and then it was all that stuff about like, okay, OG's the most consistent guy, and he was the defensive player of the year candidate, and then all of a sudden he goes down, and he comes back, and it's just been a messy year. But the whole point of it was just like, okay, so who has really emerged after all of this? And I would still say Pascal is your number 1 guy, but now all of a sudden in the last like month, maybe even month and a half now, it's sort of been like Pascal's 1A, and then Fred is 1B in terms of who has the ball the most, and then Scottie settled back into that 3rd spot again.
Yeah.
And so,
do you think he's in that 3rd spot though? You don't put OG there as well?
I think they feature OG in terms of like they give him the ball in a position to score,
right?
More than they do so for Scottie, but at the same time, I think Scottie has the ball in his hands to make that decision of who's going to score. And he very rarely chooses, I'm going to score, until probably the 4th quarter, usually when they're down.
Right. Yeah, we see those bursts from him.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, to me, at the end of the season, I still feel confused about what the order is and what the order is going forward. And so on that perspective, like, it's not too surprising the season has been where it is. And I do sympathize with Nick, right? Because I think the front office was pretty much fully in support of that plan of like promoting Scottie as a number 2.
Yeah.
And you know, that didn't really materialize in that way. And so like if you're a coach like Nick, and obviously the onus is you got to win every single game, and that's the approach that he takes, then it's like, okay, I'm going to extend my starters minutes, which, honestly, it was the right decision at that time. And I'm going to go with whatever works for me, in the short term. And I do think that's Fred running more pick and rolls, which got him going again pretty much around December. And he's been pretty good from that point onwards, from probably start of December or mid-December onward. That has gotten Fred going, and maybe it's gotten the Raptors offense to a better place as well. But again, it still kind of contrasts with the ultimate plan that they came into it with. So there's got to be a lot of reevaluating at the end of the season. Like I know Masai's favorite word is evaluating, and I think that
it's not win. Yeah, win.
Well,
evaluating.
Well, when they lose, it's evaluating.
Patience.
It's wins and evaluations. It's not wins and lessons.
Man, God damn.
So yeah, I mean there is going to be a lot to evaluate at the end of the season. Like to me, when I watch the group, it looks like it fits more on paper, especially with Jakob coming in.
Yeah.
But it has led to other players having to accommodate and play different roles. And we'll see if they find those. But if they don't find those, again, like the front office really has to make a decision with the roster in terms of like, what is this? Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes if you and I go on other teams' podcasts and we're like, ask, hey, what's wrong with the Raptors this year? We go on these like 2-3 minute rants, and then I'm just like, at the end of the day, it's very confusing. It's not like this didn't work, this worked, therefore this happened.
It's the whole thing is not functioning.
It's just
is the thing, right? Like the whole thing is not functioning.
It's a weird group, man.
And I think the other thing too is so much talk about role definition coming into the season, right? And the conversation that we're having right now, it's like, depending on who comes back next season, because obviously there's the free agency talks, there's the OG trade talks, but like assuming that this is the group that comes back, do we need just more role definition? Like in terms of like you're talking about the different roles that Scottie can play, you know what I mean? Or the different roles that Gary can play, starting and coming off the bench, right? Like with the overall construction of it benefit from guys just being in these specific roles.
I mean, I think role definition is definitely one thing, but I also think that like there's just some things where guys have to improve their skill sets.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like for example, like it's most notable with Pascal and Scottie, right? Pascal is more ahead of Scottie in terms of as a catch and shoot player, but at the same time, neither of them are consistent catch and shoot players. So like for example, you play a lot of pick and rolls with Fred and Jakob right now, which is what the Raptors are doing offensively. Like that Denver game, that was the primary action, and they did it really well, and it worked for the offense. However, if that's your central action, then all of a sudden you're turning Pascal and Scottie into sort of off-ball guys who are catching and shooting. That's okay for a guy like OG, but those other two guys aren't really strength. That's not really putting them in the strength, right? So, but then it's like, okay, if we want to play Pascal ISO and get him the mismatch hunting, which you can also do that, right? Then other guys aren't really necessarily getting involved, and also the lane is much more clogged because of Yak being in the middle of it. So there's another defender coming to Pascal, which, by the way, I think that was the case all season. It wasn't like the lane wasn't clogged when Scottie played center, or it wasn't clogged when Precious played center.
Yeah,
but still, like there is sort of that sort of thing to go around. And then if it's like, okay, if we're gonna let Scottie play point guard and sort of let him run everything, then he's obviously not generating enough chances for himself to score as a point guard, which is what we see with most point guards in the modern NBA now. It also takes Fred out of their best spot. But the whole idea is just like you shift and focus on each individual guy, and it sort of takes away from another guy. And that's sort of been the negotiating all season. That goes away when guys add more skills to their skill set. If Scottie became a much better shooter, or if Pascal became a much better shooter, some of those
problems go away.
The pick and roll looks a lot better.
Yeah, it goes away.
You know what I mean? Or if they're like, again, I guess Yak can't really realistically become much better of a shooter. But if they learn how to play better in terms of that tic-tac-toe passing in the front court, then all of a sudden it's not so bad that his man is always consistently in the lane. And then I think that's more on the offensive end. I think on the defensive end, they also have to make some adjustments in terms, or not adjustments, but just evaluations at the end of the season. Like, okay, does it make sense to continue to play this like super all-out aggressive style where if we don't essentially get a steal, then we don't have a great defensive identity. Like we know the Raptors are amazing at steals, amazing at deflections.
Yeah, but you also on the flip side, you're just letting guys blow by you when you play in these tight games in the fourth quarter, and we've seen this.
Yeah, right. So like, is there a different way that we can reorient the defense? I don't think that's going to realistically happen in the last month of the year right now.
Sure, but that's more of a training camp next year thing. See what the person.
And that's why there's like still good like basketball reasons to continue watching the Raptors, and that's not me trying to sell the product. Trust me. I'll be very honest with you, right? The product is nasty, but that's, for me, like, as a basketball fan, that's what I'm looking for with the Raptors going forward. Like, how does all this sort of work together? And is there a way where all of them work together cohesively, where they enhance their overall skill set versus, like, right now where it feels like if we do this, then it takes away from this and this and this.
Because that was wasn't that the whole just like mission statement or just the core principle of this whole Vision 6-9?
By the way,
approach.
Is Vision 6-9 dead?
Well, I was going to ask you in that, like, so Vision 6-9, the way I see it is like you have obviously these wing guys, with the wingspans and interchangeable parts, and you're supposed to be a very disruptive defensive group, right? Like, and then you just go from there. If that's the premise of Vision 6-9, like they have not accomplished what they've wanted to in these 2 years, right? Outside of that little run in the second half of last season, right? Like, because is not the point of this for the Raptors is to build a team that's one of the top defenses in the league. Mm-hmm. And then you would just hopefully fill in the gaps later in terms of like ball handling, shooting, all that stuff, right? But like they don't even have the one thing that they want to nail down right now.
Yeah.
Like, they're not a good defensive team.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's
right?
first and foremost what they need to do.
At what point have we seen this vision actually like come to life on the court?
No, I thought it came to life last year. I think that's where you and I disagree on that.
But what about this year though?
This year? I have no idea.
You know what I mean, though?
You know
like,
what I mean? Yeah. No, it doesn't make sense. It just
why
really
has
doesn't
not
make sense.
been? Why has not like it hasn't manifested based on like what happened last year, the carryover, right?
Yeah,
and again, you probably get into a lot of like individual issues with that too, right?
Yeah. No, and that's where you still hear the overall reputation for the Raptors around the league is still being very positive, even though they've had this like disappointing season, right? We in the local market understand how disappointing it's been to see the Raptors and sort of how gut-wrenching some of those losses have been, right? Once again, the Clippers game, another game where the Raptors were in it in the fourth quarter, but then they just ultimately collapsed. Although the Raptors started collapsing in the third quarter in the Clippers game. But, yeah, I mean, the reputation is still that, like, this is a team that you don't want to see, like,
But is that true, though? Do you think the Raptors are a hard team to play against?
No, because I think you could just wait for them to make mistakes. That's the other part,
But
too.
that's what I'm saying, though. So then what is the vision, then? Because the vision should start with that, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's why, again, like, that's why Masai's got to reevaluate everything at the end of the season. I'm serious.
And it's just like, again,
I'm very serious.
We can talk so much about the talent, and we always talk about the individual talent on this team, and there's a lot of individual talent, but where's the kind of just the common drive and where's the commitment on those attention to details that gets you to win games?
Yeah.
We're losing that. We don't have that.
Damn, this guy said we're losing recipes.
We're losing recipes.
Yeah, we lost some recipes.
No,
this year.
but that's the most frustrating part for me of watching this team this season. Is just that they've lost in the same ways over and over again. And they've lost making mistakes that you feel like, based on the talent of this team, that they shouldn't make. Yeah. I'm okay if you get outshot by like a Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving in a shootout or something just because you don't have enough talent.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not okay when you're losing because you're not getting back on defense or you just have these lapses that just cost you games. And they've let so many games slip away.
You know the Raptors are disappointing when Alex is making legitimate basketball points about
I've been
this,
forced into hoops talk, so I'm here.
Yeah, well,
that's
where we're at this season.
That's where we're at this season. Collectively, there's just a lot of frustration with this team. And I think a lot of people are trying to, like, even the fans are trying to figure out, and I think we've seen.
What are we latching onto? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that plus, like, I feel like that drives, like, a lot of finger pointing, too, right? Like,
there's been so much finger pointing.
Is it Fred? Is it, who else? Who else has been toxic? Scottie discussions.
Fred discussions.
I don't think Pascal has gotten a lot of flag.
No, he's been struggling lately, even so he's starting getting into it now.
Even OG, right?
OG stuff.
OG's gotten a lot of stuff. So, that's what I think is, like, triggering all of it, because, like, it's very hard for anyone to just pinpoint one thing. It's just been like a collective failure, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah, no, that's fair. What if they win tonight, though, against the Lakers?
What if they win tonight? Like I've said, here's what I said after the trade deadline. You know, I wanted them to play a good week of basketball. Just play one solid week of basketball, right?
Have they done that?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Oh, okay, let me pull up the Raptors
schedule.
Have they
accomplished that?
And it's a trade deadline.
And I know Blake Murphy was in here on Tuesday and made a really good point that, like, the whole idea of, like, a team playing really good for 48 full minutes every game, like, that's not a thing, right? Like, teams are going to go through their lapses. But, like, how many consistent in a row games have you taken from the Raptors where you're like, you know what, regardless of the result, I'm happy with the process. I'm happy that they played well.
What about in the week after the trade deadline?
Yeah, we're going to start with a Utah collapse, so that's done.
That's
a day
that was on a Friday, so technically we got to dash that, okay? The Raptors played in the week of February the 13th on Tuesday, on Thursday, on Saturday. Oh, and on Sunday. Damn it. No, that doesn't even count. So I was going to say the Raptors did beat the Magic, the Pelicans, and the Pistons, but then unfortunately Sunday came and they got smacked by the Cavs.
Right.
So yes, you're actually right. The Raptors have still not played a whole good, solid week of basketball.
Was that Detroit game good basketball?
No. But I mean, Fred was out, and
sure, Fred was out. Okay.
So they can't. So they got to cling onto a 1 point win over
mulligan.
Detroit. Yeah. No, man, you're right. No, like they legit haven't played one solid week of basketball all season,
and that's so disappointing when you talk about all the talent on this team. And I know it's been tough for you personally.
Okay, all right. I mean, relax. We got to keep that in perspective. Actually, we have a topic about that coming up on the other side of the break. But yeah, we are going to take that break. I've been your host, Willu, and you've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, William Lou. Continue to be joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. What are we talking about, Alex? Why am I seeing Oren Weisfeld's name on here again?
Oh, it's, we have Blake Murphy Tuesdays, when Joseph Cacharo, Joe Wolfon come on. We have Pound the Rock Wednesdays. Mm-hmm. Trying to do a little Oren Weisfeld Fridays now.
How many days off in a week do you
no,
need?
No. This is not a day off, though. This is me
okay. Got you.
providing, by the way, 2 is a good number. But this is me providing the best of Oren Weisfeld's social media each week on Friday.
No, because he is
interesting cat.
He's definitely part of the family.
He's part of the family.
Yeah.
He's definitely part of the family. He's a consigliere of the Raptors Show.
I don't know about that. I thought Cash was that. We gotta give him a different title, man.
My bad, Cash. So 2 great tweets from Oren this week. Wanted to get your thoughts.
All right, let's go.
For context, this was during a Raptors game. Number 1, he asked, "Do they put MSG in Pringles? Goddamn, these things are addictive."
MSG, an elite ingredient. I'll just have to say that first and foremost.
The greatest ingredient in the world.
If you're afraid of MSG,
the most famous ingredient.
That actually makes you racist. But let's just keep going.
God damn.
No, look it up.
It's
a real
Heritage
thing.
Month. Oh yeah, no, it's true.
It is for us every day. So no, but seriously though, they probably do have MSG in Pringles though, don't you think?
Yeah,
kind of tastes like a little bit.
And Pringles are very addictive. I think just the way they construct the what is it? The box. Anyways,
the cylinder.
The cylinder.
Yeah.
Let's stick to basketball. Next up.
No, I mean, shout out to Pringles, man. That was my go-to. Like, if you're at the airport, I always got myself a
those little little cans.
Yeah, just a little can.
Yeah, because I know you're not paying that airport price. Yeah. Derek
officially
Brandale has confirmed to us that there is
delicious
MSG in Pringles, Oren, and Doritos as well. Okay, right. Oren, you have beaten the allegations. Next one, he said, "I think chocolate ice cream is better on its own, but vanilla is better mixed with literally anything, i.e. cookie and fruit." I'm not a huge fan of chocolate ice cream.
See, the thing you got to understand with these Oren tweets is that he'll tweet this, and then the next tweet will be like, "Precious Achua needs to do better on the pick and roll." The stats are.
Yeah. To truly appreciate these tweets.
Or it'll be like, Nick says, Delano Banton is out with injury tonight. Like,
you need to read them sequentially to truly appreciate it.
Yeah, no, for real.
Yeah, no, I love Neapolitan ice cream, which is the 3 flavors, and chocolate is my least favorite. So,
damn.
Yeah, so there we go. All right. Oren Weisfeld Fridays has been canceled.
Yeah, this is a break. Shouts to Oren, but
tried so hard to involve Oren.
I think chocolate ice cream is better on its own, but vanilla is better mixed with literally anything else, cookies, fruit, etc.
Yeah.
Do you actually mix your ice cream? I just eat the ice cream in that.
No, just the ice cream is good.
No, the a la mode thing where they put it on the pies and stuff. I never understood that.
I don't mind it with pie though.
But I've never done that. First off, when do you eat pie? Okay, you don't just like eat pie at home.
I mean, if I pull up to the media room and they're serving that in the free dessert area,
that's different. And you never had an Alamo at the arena, man. You know that.
The Alamo. All right,
okay, all right.
Oren, watch what you tweet, okay?
Yeah, no consigliaries for Oren.
Might end up on the Summer Jam screen.
You're not even the chef.
Did you watch the Warriors and the Grizzlies?
I did, yeah. So I had the chance to watch both TNT games last night. And gotta say, the first game, very disappointing. Second game, awesome. Like watching the reigning champions play basketball against the number 2 seed in the Western Conference was a bad game. Watching the Knicks play the Kings in March was a great experience.
No, that was fun. I wish
that was so good.
I wish Jalen Brunson didn't have to leave the game in the second half, because I feel like that was headed towards a classic.
Well, I think that almost helped him in a slight way, just because I didn't think Jalen Brunson looked himself at all.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So I think that was just sort of more of a disruptive force. But shouts to Josh Hart, though. My God, that for a guy who's like 6'3", he gets in there for a lot of offensive rebounds and made a lot of really, really quick, smart passes.
No, low-key great trade deadline acquisition for them. For like what, a first rounder?
Well, the Knicks had the choices of like, here's 3 fake first rounders for OG, or we can trade for Josh Hart. And listen, OG is a better player than Josh Hart, but I think the Knicks fans are thrilled with the decision that they ultimately made.
Yeah, and man, Sacramento Kings giving me that what year was it? 2013, 14, like Raptors type vibe, just like kind of a Cinderella type season, right?
Right. That was the year
guys
Rob Ford showed up to the playoffs. And yours truly from Etobicoke took a photo with him. Man.
Oh man, and my man Sabonis with a triple-double. He was putting folks in the bonus last night.
I have to say, I didn't text you this, but There was a play in the fourth quarter where Sabonis got wrapped up at the rim,
They put him in the
bonus, and all I could think about was your stupid little All-Star intro, man. I was like, yo, you really do be putting people in the bonus. Good for him.
This is my legacy.
Alex is a ball knower,
this
man.
Is my legacy for this year, man. That one nursery rhyme. But the entertainment from the first game. So the Warriors lost another road game. And I know,
of course, man.
And I almost text you and was like, "Do you want to make the emergency call to Andy Luford today?"
Oh man,
for 5 minutes.
There's no way Andy's awake right now.
But a lot of back and forth between Draymond and Dillon Brooks. Let's score this fight here. Let's start with. So Draymond was on his podcast, the Draymond Green Show, had this to say as part of a longer rant about Dillon Brooks before the game.
Look no further than this idiot right here. They're actually depending on this guy to help them win a championship. And he says his game is cool. Quite frankly, that just shows how little you know about basketball. And yet, you running around talking about a dynasty? The dynasty starts after you, not with you.
The dynasty starts after you, not with you is hard.
You know what this? Yeah, first off, that's a bar. Second of all, last year, when obviously the Raptors didn't make it past the first round, but we continued to do the show throughout the course of the playoffs and through the free agency period. During the finals, when obviously so much of the focus was on the Warriors, who eventually went on to win, I remember us doing Draymond Green Show React Pods.
We
really have another Dray Pod React Pod situation.
We were giving him Draymond Green Show, by the way, number 4 basketball podcast in Canada.
Oh, really? Who's 1, 2, and 3?
Number 3 is our boys No Dunks.
Oh, shouts to them. Man.
Number 2 is the Mark Titus Show. Wasn't familiar with his game.
Okay.
Number 1 is the Raptors Show with Will Lou, right?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So what is this, podcaster beef?
No,
I don't want to beef with Draymond, man. I'm good.
Just, in case people...
It's going to be like, you know what? The podcast starts after you, not with you.
In case people forgot.
How little you know about basketball.
No, that's a good one, man. Why do you say little like that too, man?
Yeah, I don't know. It's very belittling.
How little?
Little.
This is my favorite drop from Derek Brady.
No, the Draymond
Barnes.
React Pod is great, man.
Since Scottie Barnes, man.
Scottie Barnes.
That one always lifts our spirits.
Honestly,
man.
if we just ever need to fill air, just please play that. Okay, just please play that.
Scottie Barnes.
Shows the surge.
There's no way.
Okay, out of 5, how do you score that rant? I know you listen to the whole rant.
That's a 5 out of 5, man.
So you're giving that a 5 out of 5. So it's 5-0 right now for Draymond. So then after the game yesterday, Dillon Brooks was interviewed, and here's what he had to say.
What was the message that you had to Draymond?
That's what I do. I talk, and I told him, I told him that keep that mic. He's better at the mic than hooping. You know what I'm saying? So keep doing this podcast, keep blogging, keep doing this thing off the court. It's cute, it's fun for him.
That's what my dad says to me as well. He's like, keep doing a little podcast, produce a little podcast.
Keep vlogging, keep
vlogging. It's cute. Yeah. That's what he says to me every week, so I respect that. Okay, before you score this one, though, so Dillon did go on to say after in the locker room that he thought it was a low blow, what Draymond said on his podcast, trying to pit him against his teammates. And he said, quote, "I ain't out here getting into physical altercations with my teammates." This is obviously referring to Draymond's punch of Jordan Poole. And then Dillon somehow went on to talk about the topic changed to whether the Grizzlies need more veterans on their team. And Dillon said, "Who should we sign? Guys like Carmelo Anthony and Dwight Howard who just want to get back for their own shine and not to help young guys." And then he went on to call Udonis Haslem a real vet. So Dwight Howard's just chilling in Taiwan.
Let Dwight Howard eat some chicken feet and collect a check in Taiwan, man. Come on, man.
He has to get a text notification that Dillon Brooks has called him out. So how are we scoring? We gave Draymond a 5. How are we scoring Dillon Brooks as just post-game performance?
Okay, here's the thing. I thought for me, the walk-off interview wasn't great. I think he could have chose his words better, but mostly because of the fact that it's not fair because he was just walking up the court. That's all the emotions. He just played, played a pretty significant role and then played pretty well in that game too. But it wasn't like in the Draymond setting, he's at home chilling. He could think about what he's going to say and then he just comes out and executes it.
Yeah.
Versus this, he had to do it on the fly. I think he did better in the postgame interview. That point about Draymond is pretty good because it was kind of a low blow to just be out of nowhere. Because the rest of it, I understood, right? That was stuff that was out there. But for Draymond to put that out there, I think it was fair for Dylan to respond. But the funniest thing for me is, though, watching this game where the Grizzlies won 131 to 110, the game itself was nasty to watch. Like, yes, like Steph made his threes or whatever, but the Warriors were just down immediately.
The Grizzlies scored, what, 48?
They had 48 points in the first quarter. It was never really close. The Warriors made a series of fake comebacks, and then ultimately they ended up losing. And the whole thing, I'm just like, this was a bad basketball product. And actually, I would have just preferred for Draymond and Dylan Brooks to have just. This could have been a podcast. No, it could have just been a podcast. Is my thing. They could have skipped the basketball portion for me personally.
Yeah,
but
no, that's
I like
cute.
it, man.
That's
I like it. Also, I think all of this makes, because it's funny because in America, like people are all like really like, I can't believe Dylan Brooks. But I think when you're in the GTA and you just understand that Dylan Brooks is a man from Mississauga, everything makes sense, actually. Everything makes complete sense. So
I didn't even think about the context of that.
To me, I'm like, yeah.
This is a Mississauga man, the evil Danny Green just terrorizing the NBA.
Also, Danny Green was on that team this year, too. That's the funniest part,
they're like,
man.
we only need Wario, man.
They had
We
Mario
only
and
need
Wario,
Yeah,
man.
That's wild.
Who's the Waluigi in this situation?
Oh,
Anyway.
might be Santi Aldama.
No, he was great last night, too.
All right, so to be continued.
Yeah.
To be continued. You've got some make or miss.
That's right. So we have, this is your favorite segment. For some reason, you just love make or miss. It's a pretty standard thing. If you agree with the statement, you're going to say make. If you disagree, it's going to be miss. The point of it's supposed to be rapid fire. So here we go. The first one is very simple. Midway through the fourth quarter, in their meeting on Wednesday, Kawhi drove past OG and posterized Poeltl. Make or miss. Yak is the most posterized player in the league.
I'm gonna have to say make. I think the only other player that comes to mind for me is Yuta Watanabe. Because Utah does.
Why do we have both?
Yeah, shouts
Why did we
to
have
Utah.
both? Aaron Baines also got posted a lot, by the way.
Yeah. Rudy Gobert too. I think got caught.
Right.
I guess the common trend is like these guys actually defend the basket.
Sure.
Like you're gonna catch a couple strays, right? But
no,
yes,
but
I'm
Yak
gonna
has been
make.
on some famous posters, man.
Yeah. He was on. How many times did Kawhi posterize him? Just once on Wednesday. I swear he got dunked on at least twice.
Well,
but...
Zubac got him a couple times.
That's
as
right.
Well.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, damn.
That's what Kawhi said.
Wait,
too.
play that again.
Meow.
Yeah.
That's what Kawhi said to Yak. Kawhi said they traded you for me. I won a championship, and now I'm gonna dunk on you.
The funniest thing with this is now Kawhi has bullied both parts of the Kawhi Leonard trade.
Oh
all right?
my God!
Obviously, we know what happened with DeMar when he first came back to Toronto.
That's right.
Kyle
Oh,
and Kawhi basically pantsed DeMar.
Yeah.
in his homecoming.
You know
he
what?
Stole the ball and dunked it on him at the end for the game winner.
Oh
and
my
now he's
God.
posted Poeltl. Kawhi Leonard, you a bully, man.
I wouldn't be surprised if he somehow him and Uncle Dennis took the $5 million that the Spurs gave the Raptors, man.
What?
What's going on, Derek?
No way. What does that sound?
All right, what's next?
Next one. What is that? All right. Next make or miss. All right. LeBron said he was dreaming about watching North Carolina and Duke at the national championship game with Michael Jordan. So LeBron is dreaming about this, right? It was 95-94 with 5 seconds left. North Carolina had the ball, and then LeBron said he had to wake up and pee. And so he couldn't finish out the dream. Make or miss. Do you also dream about basketball? And also, is LeBron lying? Because this is so detailed.
Yeah. Miss, like, I don't dream about basketball.
Have you ever dreamed about hoops?
Probably have, but it would be a similar scenario, like just probably involving me, like hitting a 3-pointer. That's how you know it's a dream.
But do you dream about the time and score and possession?
No, not in this detail.
I wonder was there a foul to give in this situation?
I'm gonna have to call Cap on this one as well. Also, LeBron, just get better. You're literally on a scooter, just like Will Lou right now. Like,
no, not me, man. It's snowing like crazy.
Please,
taking the TTC,
please just get well soon. But LeBron is so funny, man.
No,
watching LeBron become, because LeBron and I are the same age, and he's slowly evolving into a 38-year-old person on social media.
Whenever LeBron gets injured nowadays, he becomes like, he just sits at home, drinks wine, gets tips, and he's like, nah, my son better than these guys.
Yeah, I know.
And I love it. I actually really like it.
What's
Next one.
next?
All right. So Josh Hart was asked about if the Knicks lost their 9-game win streak to Charlotte earlier in the week because of fatigue. And he answered that people are actually getting up at 6 a.m. to work 12-hour shifts, and those people are actually tired, and that we have to keep NBA player fatigue in perspective when we speak about it. Make or miss, should athletes stop discussing rest/workload for better PR?
Miss. No, I think that's a really good point from Josh Hart. Yeah. I think, when I come in here and work for an hour, you always put me in perspective as well, whenever I try to complain.
Are you tired right now?
I don't know. Yeah, no comment.
Not fair.
Yeah.
Shout out to Josh Hart, by the way.
Shouts to Josh Hart.
9
Shouts
points,
to every
15 rebounds, 7 assists. The Knicks are 9-1 with him in the lineup.
Yo, best trade deadline move.
Bro, this is
next
a
to
used
KD.
stat line, by the way.
Yeah, best trade deadline move.
Yeah, no.
Name me a better one. Well, KD as well.
Well, KD is pretty good, but we'll see when he gets back. All right, next one. During that epic 176 to 175 game between the Kings and the Clippers,
Saw that.
one fan on the Kings side did a rock the baby taunt to Russell Westbrook,
Yes.
who then had him removed from the game. Make or miss? Does the NBA care about the consumer?
Miss. So
Yo, come on, man.
no, you know what? I have seen several occasions now of Russell Westbrook pointing out courtside fans and having them removed. And I think we've seen examples of other NBA players do this too.
Yeah.
And listen, like a lot of times we're not sure exactly how far these fans are crossing the lines of what they're saying to the players.
Yes,
right?
I hear you. Yeah.
But
if it's just like I'm doing the make,
if
the
it's
rock
just-
the baby
yeah.
thing to Westbrook,
if
Westbrook
it's
does
just,
it all the time.
if it's just a taunting, then that's come on. Like
Yeah.
that's just part of the game.
All right.
That's just part of the game. So
I hear you.
Don't with the Peaky Blinders.
Oh wow. No, salute.
no, play that other one that I still don't know what it is.
I think that was someone in the chat said that was Uncle Roger. That's Uncle Roger. You know the guy who does the
It's
Asian
Uncle
accent.
Roger, yes.
Oh, okay.
He's like
I only
Malaysian or Canton or
I only know
Indonesian or
Uncle
something.
Dennis. All right, what's next?
All right. Next one. When the Raptors beat the Wizards last weekend, that clinched the 44th consecutive sub 50 win season for
Oh, my
Washington.
goodness.
Make or miss. Are the Washington Wizards the most mid NBA franchise?
Make it has to be.
44 years in a row, they have not hit the 50 win plateau.
They're basically, you know what they need? They need like a Clippers era type run.
What does that mean?
Because like the Clippers were very mid until like the past decade or decade and a half. Like
Yeah.
if you talked about this topic like in 2005 or whatever, the Clippers would be there.
Gotcha.
Because I think they had
Okay.
like one player, and then obviously they had Lob City. You know, they have this run now. Like the Wizards.
What is this run now?
You know, whatever.
The load management era?
whatever this is.
Yeah.
But like, what is the best thing that the Wizards have had? That one time with John Wall and
John Wall hit the game winner, danced on, jumped
yeah.
on the stage, and then I think they lost to Kelly Olynyk the next game.
Right. They took the Celtics to Game 7, right?
Well, they
And
swept
almost-
us too, but that's different.
Oh yeah, that was tough. Yes, they are the most mid team in NBA.
Yeah,
that's true.
44 consecutive wins.
That's
sub
like
50
you would think you would just fluke your way into 150 win season.
Yeah. No, bro, the Raptors
50 is not that hard.
During the same time when the Wizards were actually good, the Raptors won 56 games starting Luis Scola and DeMar Carroll.
Yeah. Dwayne Casey, man.
Okay, all right. Maybe they got to hire Dwayne. I don't know.
What?
All right, next one. Pau Gasol had his number 16 retired in LA this week. Many beautiful tributes were brought forward, including Jimmy Butler, who flew across the country during his off day just to surprise him in LA. The Heat were playing Monday and Wednesday at home. On the Tuesday, Jimmy Butler decided to fly out to LA, which is not a short trip, just to surprise former teammate Pau Gasol at his retirement ceremony. Great thing to do. Make or miss, Jimmy Butler is both the best and the worst teammate in the league.
Yeah, make because first of all, I forgot that Jimmy and Pau were teammates on the Bulls until you reminded me. So, you know, they clearly did not spend that much time together, had a lot of success together. And for them to do that, for Jimmy to do that is great. But also, he is the best and worst because he will fly cross country to pay tribute to a teammate, but he will also fly cross country to just show up to like Wolves practice and beat you with some third stringers.
Yeah.
So
he's super
and
chaotic.
then sit down with Rachel Nichols and destroy the whole franchise. And then we gotta talk about
He's your career icon, by the way.
we should draft franchise killers, man. Jimmy's up there, Kyrie.
Yeah.
By the way, Raptors Lakers tonight at 10 p.m. on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, and make sure you catch the Raptors Reaction podcast with William Liu live after the game.
All right, that does it for us today. I've been your host, Will Liu, and you've been listening to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Thanks once again to producer and co-host Alex Wong, board producer Derek Brandale, and Jennifer Rowland for helping on the YouTube stream. And we'll talk to you next week. Enjoy your weekend.
Calling all brides. Mega Wedding Expo is the place to find everything you need for your perfect day. But nothing's perfect.